We pass immediately to the next sub-session, that is the description of the European project NanoMed 2020. It's a CSA support action that has been funded under FP7 Health program by European Commission. In NanoMed 2020, most of the ETPN members, but even other members are there, and it has been somehow a way to bridge the gap between now and the beginning of Horizon 2020 to really pave the road for implementing what is described in the white paper. So Nicolas Goose is not here. He couldn't be here. He is the project leader of NanoMed 2020. But Laurent Lévy will take this task and will give a unique presentation, just shrinking the two into one. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Okay, so Nicolas asked me to make the presentation, as he's sorry and give you his apologize because he cannot attend today's meeting. So this program, NanoMed 2020, has been launched recently and under the umbrella of preparing the future for medicine. And what is really the goal of this project? The goal is simple. The goal is to bring more efficiently more nanomedicine product with meaningful benefit for patients onto market. Where it started, 2 years ago, the ETPN has looked at the environment and made a number of key findings. The first one being that there is a number of excellent academic center research group working in nanomedicine, providing good science, having no knowledge about the market, having no knowledge about what is an unmet medical need. So that's part of what we have noticed. Second part is there is also a number of big players in healthcare, big companies, that have large and good access to market, that really know the market, but sometimes they have problems to handle true innovation or innovation that are really different from what are they doing usually. That's the second point. The other one is when you look between the academic research and the big companies, sometimes there is few SMEs having very limited capabilities that are trying to bridge the gap. And they also have a lack of knowledge about how to develop product. So that's the third point we have noticed. And the very last one is the inefficiency in the funding mechanisms. Looking at the project that have been funded, we thought that a number of projects, not about new science, not about basic research, but about research which is made to develop products. In that particular cases, we found that there is many projects that got money that should not have got money. Because the project, even on the definition, on the concept of the project, this project had problem because there was no solution to no problem. So this is what we have noticed. And we thought that we need to do something. And nanomedicine is a specific field, but it's medicine at the end. So what we are saying, what we have found, is most likely applicable to many biotech or chemistry or things that are linked to a development in the pharmaceutical or healthcare industry. So the key finding was there is a need for translation, better translation and more efficient translation. So we just see part of the slide, right?
That's okay.
Well, okay, anyway. So, as Fuyo has said, this program is involving a number of partners, but also associated experts, and is under DG Research and Innovation. So I will not go over details, but you can find everything on the internet. So what are the key objectives? I think first of all is to really link the community, the nanomedicine community, to make it efficiently so people can work together and know each other. And the second point is really in the value chain, we'll come back on this point a bit later, we need to identify the key steps, the key milestones, and the key gap we have to fill with solutions. Of course, looking at the future, we need also to know where are the priorities in terms of research, but linked to needs, linked to patient needs, linked to healthcare system needs. And then the most important part of all this will be to propose an implementation plan how to solve the problem. So in the past, there was a number of players in the nanomedicine area in Europe, all working separately, and now we can see that it is going better. People are working together, different associations are joining, like here the CLINAM and ETPN, to try to move forward together, and with the same goal of bringing more medicine into Horizon 2020. So the project has started a few months ago, and since that time we've launched a number of action, starting with the mapping of players in nanomedicine in Europe, but also the product, which is important, identifying all the gaps in the value chain, and all the policy environment around the nanomedicine area. As Patrick has shown, we have also largely participated to the white paper on the next 7 years for nanomedicine, and we're also working on the strategic research innovation agenda that is not out yet, with a final goal of bringing to the EC an implementation plan of the solution that have been proposed in the white paper. And something which is also important, it's communication. Communication, because we need to communicate what is nanomedicine, need to communicate what we are doing, how we're improving things, but also what are the problems. And this is a big part of the project. So what are the first results for this project? First of all, we've looked at the value chain. You've seen it in the white paper, but we went beyond this point. We went also talking to different stakeholders all along the value chain, and to look at the interface, because if there is a transfer from one partner to another, let's say from an academic to a big industrial, or to an SME or SME to big pharma, there is always an interface here. And every time you have an interface, you always see a problem, because people have different expectations, because people have different meaning around words. So it is very important to clearly define what is at the interface and what the stakeholders are waiting from other stakeholders. And we have already identified a number of mismatch, a number of unmet needs, not medical, but business unmet needs. So the white paper, I won't go over, but that is part of the work of NanoMed 2020. And another important task is really to have the forces in presence, to know who is there, out there in Europe, but also outside Europe. So who are the key players? What are they doing? What kind of companies? What kind of academic group, research center? What are their value? What are their forces, weakness? So this is a big part of the job. And you can participate to this job. If you're not already on the map of NanoMed, then you can go to this website and to register and answer a number of questions. And I think it's important because that's also a tool to identifying people and what they can bring in project, and that we want to use this for future to create consortia, to create a group of work around different subjects. This is part of it, because knowing who's doing what is not enough. We also need to know about the product, stage of development, pipelines, what can we wait for such a product, what is the targeted disease, because if we really know what is under development, then we can help better people. We can help them to develop more efficiently. When we were thinking about pilot line, depending on the type of product, we can also help in this. If there is more liposomes, then we can know what will be the need in the future and so on. So it's about group and about a product. So we're starting, but we already had a number of answers. So as Patrick said, there is 500 plus SMEs in Europe working in the nanomedicine field at large, plus a larger number of academic groups. And so far we have 120 answers all over Europe, and coming from different areas. So I will not go over the detail because, of course, all this will be published and there will be public data at the end. We also find out that there is key hurdles in the value chain that have been identified and that are listed here. And not surprisingly, the first one is funding. And I think that is something we need to work on. Because at the end, when we look at the whole value chain, and if we come back on the problem I have mentioned previously, that a number of projects are funded, but with no goal, and at least with no product at the end. So if we can stop that kind of project or really reorient the funding to projects that have a chance to be developed, at the end we may not need more money. We may need a better money or better use of the money we already have. And I think that's important. I know that many people don't like that discourse, but I think that's very important. It's easier, I mean, it's more efficient to use better the money we have rather to spend more and more money to make it happen. But real problems are also mentioned here, like scale-up, which is a real hurdle in the development, clinical development, expertises, all this. And that's why the plan proposed by the ETPN, which is the first step, already starting to answering that kind of unmet needs. And we have, to do so, we have established a number of partnerships, formally or informally, with a number of other organizations to be able to map and to be able to move forward this NanoMed 2020 project. I will mention it again because Nanomedicine Award is an important task. It's not just an award. Why we've done this award? Here we are within the nanomedicine community, and we thought that if we want to get this community known by other community and at the end the medical community and the pharma companies, we need to be exposed to other places. We don't need to speak only together. So that's why we said with EBD, which is organizing Bio Europe, and next year will be in Vienna, we said let's make a nanomedicine award, then we can give to the pharma companies and healthcare company a vision on what is done on nanomedicine. So that's the first act of communication, but which is very important. It's not only an award, there will be a panel too, where we want to expose what is nanomedicine, how we can move it forward, what are the hurdles to make partnership between big industry and smaller group, academic or SMEs. So you're free to apply, and well, you can't read it, but if you go to www.nanomedicine-award.com, then you will be able to register for such a award. There will be several awards, but at the end, it has to be real nanomedicine. Don't come with a monoclonal antibody because it's nano. It's not nanomedicine, and I think that's important. There will be a panel of experts, industrial experts, that will judge the project, and at the end we want to give 3 to 4 awards, and regardless of the stage of development. But we want something which is disruptive, new. Another thing we've done that was quite successful is the organization on the Nano World Cancer Day. You know, every year there is the World Cancer Day, which is made to communicate to people what is cancer, what are the new therapy, and what we can do to improve patient life. So during this day, we've launched a simultaneous event in 3 different countries in Europe, Berlin, Paris, and Braga, in parallel, where we were disclosing what is nanomedicine and how nanomedicine could help patients in oncology. So that was a quite good success, and starting from this, we got a large coverage on the press, on the TV, on the radio, and I think that's important. Let's not replicate mistakes that have been done in the past with new technologies. If we want nanomedicine to be accepted, which is already not done, but on the way, so let's continue to talk, let's continue to explain to people what we are doing. But not only to investors, not only to the European Commission, but just to people, to public. I think that's important. And NanoMed 2020, along with the ETPN, has a dedicated forces to communicate to people. So the next steps, we are going to continue to work on this value chain because that's very important, and to really identifying the key gaps in this value chain and interface between different people. So if you have good ideas on this, if you want to join, to participate, or to be involved, then you're free to join on for this matter. So thank you for your attention. I'm trying to catch the time.
Thank you, Laurent, for the nice presentation. You shrank the two presentations in one very cleverly. It was very clear. And if there is any question from the audience, please.
So this is just referring to what Patrick has explained and you have presented, especially in the context of funding. So I think ETPN is well placed. Who understands well the gaps in nanomedicine? I mean, it's not only new technologies, but also taking a nanomedicine from bench to bedside. So there is also this translation advisory board, etc. So is it in the objectives of ETPN, I'm curious to know, is it in the objectives of ETPN to support or to help the funding agencies and also European Commission to rationalize the funding, probably not to give the funding for all new upcoming things or to legends, but really to identify the gaps and then to fill the gaps?
Well, clearly that's part of our job, and after that, as always, I mean, the EC can accept or not what we are saying, but we've seen too many projects that should not have been funded. So that's all, again, part of our job, to really help the good project to move forward and to try to reshape the project that have to be reshaped. And if the EC needs us for advice on how to fund project or what kind of project could we help and so on, then of course we're happy to help. But we don't want to be a funding agency at all. That's not our goal. We can't.
Giacinto?
No, sorry, just to be clear. The question is not to be funding agency, but the question is to accompany funding. Okay.
Giacinto, go ahead.
Yes. There are several differences between countries in Europe, strong differences. And one main one, the amount of research done in hospitals is very, very varying. In Italy, almost no research is done in hospitals. The research hospital is not existing. And that's a big drawback to having any progress in nanomedicine, in my opinion. Directors of hospitals in Italy have written program papers on their own hospitals saying research is damaging them because it's not. They need to cure people and not research. The research is seen as an academic effect. And that's something I don't see addressed here.
Well, so let me give you an example of what we are doing at the Translation Advisory Board. The first project we are helping is a project which is coming from hospital. So there is an existing electronic company which is working with an hospital in cardiovascular disease that have developed a new technology around stent and communicative stents. And the Translation Advisory Board is helping them to put together a business plan and a team in order to go outside and raise money. But this project has been started in hospital and funded at the beginning by research at hospital.
In which country?
Excuse me?
In which country was that?
At the moment, there is one in France and UK.
Okay, that's my point. In Southern Europe, it's a totally different situation. Much less research is done in hospitals. There is a gap between universities and hospitals which is huge. And something needs to be done there because Europe has a lot to say on these things. To homogenize the situations can do by regulations, by incentives, it can do anything. But if nothing gets done actively in that direction, the situation will remain.
If I can just add a comment on since you mentioned the Italian situation, the research hospitals, actually, I think that in Italy we do have a quite big network of research hospitals, 42 research hospitals. Sometimes they're not very cutting edge because it is very applied research. But for instance, in the field of nanomedicine, something has happened, and for the first time, I would say, the Italian government joined the other government in the NanoNet program specific on nanomedicine this year. So the first promising steps have been done.
Yes, but the training of doctors is not done in research hospitals. It's done the old-fashioned way by specializations.
Don't be pessimistic. Any other question? Please.
Maybe just a remark. I'm sure it's come out strongly already, but to, I guess, stress again the central role of regulators and regulatory structures, not mainly or not really as a barrier to anything, but as a promoter and a guideline to support the kind of directions we should head. Maybe a little bit underutilized resource at the minute to support our activity, because in a sense it's the narrow gate through which everyone must pass, and it's a pretty good guideline. We might be able to use them a little bit more strategically than we have.
Yeah, we do. I think that's very important. For a single company or single project, but also as ETPN, we establish dialogue with regulatory bodies. And we, for example, went to see EMA a few weeks or months ago to discuss how can we improve relationship between people and regulation. How can we make it happen faster? And that's part of the job, of course. And that's so inside of environment, it is part of it. And that's what we recommend, even at the early stage of a product development or project. Go and talk to regulatory bodies, because they will help you, and also they will know what is going to come or what may come. And that's very important for them to know what is ongoing and what they may have to handle in the near future. So it's not, as you said, a hurdle or a barrier. That's not. They are helping. I think we should consider regulatory bodies as helpers in the development. And for that, you need to establish dialogues. That's very important.
Okay, I think the time is over, and we are in time now. So we close the session. We thank the speaker again. And if I'm not wrong, there is a break now.